to the match preview. Alkmaar against Tottenham. Massive game for both clubs. And for Tottenham particularly, being the bookies' favourites for the tournament. We know how the season's passed us by with whatever the reasons are. You know, the Premier League is done, and this is it. This is Europa League or bust. This is pretty much it. So we need to stamp our authority in this game. I said that, you know, just before that, we need to reserve our best team for this tournament, and I believe that is what we're going to do. Ange Postecoglou knows exactly what this tournament means for us this season. But you look at the last game that we played against them, we beat them 1-0 with, you know, Richarlison up top, Mikey Moore started on the right and moved to the left. You know, we had pretty much a changed team, and, you know, they made it difficult for us, don't get me wrong, but we had some big performances out there, and maybe players that, like a Mikey Moore, who's maybe struggled to make an impact in like Premier League games, let's say, but he absolutely tore them to shreds, didn't he?
On the day, yeah, he started off the right-hand side. It was decent, but didn't quite kind of impact the game enough, and then moved over to the left in the second half. It was absolutely devastating, and they couldn't handle him in that second half. That was one of the games where you really got to see the absolute talent was there for to see that Mikey Moore is, and that got a lot of people to sit up and take notice about how special he is. We even had Richarlison back fit back then. Obviously, he scored the winner from the penalty. Madison had a brilliant game. It wasn't our best performance, but it was a fairly comfortable 1-0 win. But they did give us some trouble. I remember, what's his name, Poku. He was devastating against Galatasaray, and he was really good against us as well, running those channels and beating the fullbacks and getting to the byline, creating opportunities. So he's definitely one we're going to have to watch out for 100%. He's a really tricky winger, which we know we've had our struggles against. Obviously, Troy Parrott as well. I mean, I think we kept him pretty quiet last time, but he has a lot of goal contributions this season so far. So he's going to want
nothing more than to stick it on us as well.
Yeah, especially in front of the home crowd as well. Like he'll be at home, and I think the crowd are really going to be behind him. And if they get any kind of opportunities or penalties, I'm sure he's going to be the first person to step up for those ones. And he's really been taking his career to the next level since going to AZ. Obviously did well at Excelsior, and AZ kind of took a bit of a punt on him, signed him for about 8 million, or a bit more than that maybe. And, you know, done really well. He's done really well, and really happy for him, because there's a lot of question marks about where his career was heading. Is he going to make it at the top level? And he's showing here at RZ he can make it at top level football, and hopefully he keeps going from strength to strength. So best of luck to him. Hopefully not the best luck in this game, but he's definitely going to be a one to watch out for. And they've got a few other really good players. Obviously Jordy Classy, former Southampton. He's a classy little midfielder, really technically strong. Not the most physical, but also does like to put a foot in. They've got Timu Koopmijn as his brother in midfield as well. If he's got even half the left foot that Koopmijn has, it's quite a good left foot, so he's probably one to watch out for. I do believe their talisman, their captain, is injured, and I think they're number 10. So if that's the case, yeah, Mynans. He's quite a good young player in the midfield, so that'll be a big blow, because I think he plays at the number 10 position.
Both those guys will be big misses for them, Mynans and Van Bommel.
And Van Bommel as well. He's had a few injuries this season, so they're not coming in at completely full strength, but they definitely come up with a strong enough team to give us problems.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're a young team, an energetic team, a team that will go at you, you know, as Dutch teams like to do. They're very much in that mould, and I think like when we last played them back in, what was it, November time? October time. You know, they weren't in the greatest moment in terms of their season. They were losing games. They were on a stretch of like 4 or 5 losses in a row, where this time they're actually going into it on really good form. However, on the flip side of that, they're not going to be as well rested as Spurs are. We're going to go into it with 8 days rest, last playing on Wednesday against Manchester City side. They played on the weekend, losing to Heerenveen, which maybe they were struggling from in terms of freshness. But a few days before that, they played a cup semi-final, I think it was, a semi or quarter, I can't remember. But they went all the way to penalties, from extra time to penalties. So maybe they were feeling that over the weekend. So they're going to have to muster up some energy. And I'm sure they will be running on adrenaline for this one.
Yeah, it's a big game. And they know it doesn't get much bigger than Tottenham coming to town. I'm sure they'll treat this like the big game that it is. So I've got no doubt that they're going to be full of energy, especially from the start. Maybe that will start to wane, after the hour mark and later in the game. And once we can also now in a position we can use 5 subs, where in previous games we've been struggling on that aspect. So we can really refresh the team. And you saw how that helped against Man City and Ipswich and some of these games, Man United, where we actually have now options off the bench to choose from who can come off the bench and maintain that intensity, whereas beforehand we seem to lose intensity by a certain point and not regain it. So I think that's going to be crucial in this game. But I'm sure AZ are going to come flying out the traps. I think early on it's going to be about just making sure they're not overwhelming you. They're not, maybe a bit of luck. They're going to have some shots. I'm sure they're going to have some chances. And it's about restricting them as much as possible, not allowing them good quality chances and riding that wave a bit. And then once you get a foothold in the game, really going for their throat.
Yeah, look, I think Spurs should be the ones, being more of the aggressor even from early on in this game, with the quality that we do have, with the rest that we do have going into this game as well. But you mentioned, intensity later on in the game, and what a better player to bring off a bench in that sense with Dom Solanke. We know Dom Solanke's been in full training now, and I'm looking at the last couple of games, and at the end of both those games, I was like, look, we just missed the Dom Solanke in this kind of game to put himself about a little bit, drop deep, knit the play together, be aggressive, and be the first line of the press as well, which we're desperately missing from a Dom Solanke. So if Tell's not doing it, I mean, we've got such a good replacement, good player that we can bring on that will actually, when you're lowering in terms of physicality and you're tiring in a game, you don't want to see Dom Solanke coming on.
No. So I think, Solanke, we know, never gives defenders a moment's rest. And he hasn't had much of a bench role so far this year, apart from maybe some Europa League games. So I think it's going to be a bit of a new role, but coming off the bench, I'm sure he's going to add something different to the team.
He might even start.
He might start, maybe, and then come off early, potentially. You never know. Depends how ready they are. But I think there's a few players, coming off the bench potentially. Odebear was a very good player. Looks like coming off the bench, running at tired legs. We just haven't had a player like that in recent weeks. Obviously, I think being able to rest one of the fullbacks potentially after the hour mark and bring on whoever's not playing from the start is going to be crucial. One player actually we're not going to have, we didn't mention, is Timo Werner, ineligible for this game. He actually started the game back in October. Yeah. So that's obviously a big difference from when we played them before. But
positive or negative?
Probably positive. Look, we're going to have more and Odebear coming off the bench. So.
Moore wasn't even on the bench in the last against Man City.
Moore wasn't. No,
Timo was. So,
but
there'll be one like for like, won't it?
Moore will be back in. I'm pretty sure about that. I'll be surprised if he's not. But then again, we do have Romero, Van der Ven, and Solanke all to fit in. So there's going to be some decisions. Maybe Scarlett might have to come out. There will be some decisions made. And it'll be interesting to see what he does with Archie Gray as well, because obviously he's been such a big part of the team for so long. But with those centre-backs coming in, he's going to have to battle for those midfield positions, or maybe even sees him as or maybe even rotates him in the full-back positions again, with Spence playing on the left and Gray on the right potentially. I wouldn't be surprised if we start seeing Gray back at full-back as well. But yeah, I think the crucial thing is having these options. All of a sudden your squad looks so much healthier, and you look, and I know people have been bemoaning our squad, but you look at it now and you're like, it's not too bad, the depth right now, when you're looking at a lot of things. Obviously we could do better when there's still holes in the squad, but you're looking and you're like, when we've got all these players available, our depth really doesn't look bad.
Yeah, obviously Kulusevski being injured is a big blow for us. I do kind of feel like he does need the rest, and I'm not happy he's injured, but it could be a good thing for him to sit out. Obviously, we don't want him out for too long, but if it is just these 2 games, I think it will do him the world of good. Yeah.
Even if he's injured during the international break, just gets a rest for a bit and then comes refreshed after, that'd be really great. But anyway, either way, I think we could all see he's kind of waning a bit at the moment, and
it's been a while, to be honest.
Yeah, he just needed a bit of a break, and I think this little injury period maybe can afford him that. And you've seen players sometimes, they just need that little break, that little reset. Maybe he should go away for a couple of weeks and have his feet up and just chill, because he's worked so hard over the last couple of months.
Bit of warm weather training mid-season.
Yeah, maybe go over to Dubai.
But in terms of AZ and how they are this season. They are 6th in the Eredivisie. They're only a point outside the top 4, where it's not top 4 in terms of Champions League there, it's top 3. But they are a point outside of Feyenoord, who are 4th. But they are a team on good form. They seem to consistently beat Ajax over the last couple of years, which is great for them. And I'm looking at the Dutch teams in Europe this year. You're looking at Ajax. I mean, they haven't really impressed too many people. Alkmaar, where did they finish? They finished quite low down in the Europa League.
19th.
19th, exactly. So they didn't do too well. And you're looking at PSV last night. They got absolutely taught a lesson by the Gooners. They really did. It was like 7-1 at home. It's embarrassing.
No striker.
It's madness. Like, Arsenal was struggling to create chances against anyone, and then they go and score 7 goals against PSV. So when you're looking at English opposition going against Dutch opposition, you should be heavy favourites, and we need to go and stamp our authority.
Yeah, we should be. We are heavy favourites, and it'll be a massive disappointment if we go out. But they're not a bad team, AZ. I think we've seen that throughout this Europa League, and especially in the last round. Against the Galatasaray team, who do have a lot of good players in it. I think it's also kind of a testament to how your team is more than just good players. You need to actually have a functional team, and maybe that's where Galatasaray were faltering with all their stars. They didn't actually have the team that functions as well as it should. Whereas AZ, with a lot of younger players and a lot of young gifted players, functioned a lot better, and they were much more organised. And that's what we got to do. We got to make sure that we're organised and we're matching them for intensity, we're matching them for hard work. And if we do that, we're going to be fine. I'm pretty certain of it. And we're going to have the tools to hurt them. And if they're going to come at us, which I'm pretty sure they will, we're going to have to show that if you try and play football against us, you open up, we can hit you and we can be devastating. And that's the crucial thing. You just got to make sure that you're winning your individual battles and you're not getting out-muscled, you're not letting them dictate the game. Make sure you're dictating the game. And once you do that, once you take control, then I think you'll see the dominance really flow through us. But there is obviously a worry that you can let the game get away from you in these aspects, especially against a team like AZ, who are going to be flying at you, running a lot, very, very young, trying things all the time. Like, they will create some chances, and about not allowing that to get to you, making sure that when you get the ball, you're just playing your game, and that's what we got to do.
It's going to be interesting, the dynamic of these injured players coming back, because obviously got 3 massive players for us come back to full team training this week: Romero, Van de Ven, and Don Solanke. We have only gone for one of those in our predicted lineup, which is Kuti Romero. But I mean, it could be all 3, it could be just 2, it could be 1. I mean, who knows? We need to wait for Ange's press conference to see what he actually says. But judging, we have gone for Romero in the predicted lineup. We just feel that he might be a bit more ready than the other 2.
I just think he's going to try and give both of them game time. I think they're now all back in training. I think he's going to want to bed some of them in. I know Romero and Van de Ven have taken longer than expected. Solanke's taken shorter than expected, he said. He said he's ahead of schedule. That's what he claims. So I think he's going to want to give them all game time. He's going to want to start getting them ready for the rest of the season. And you got to start bedding them in, because the more you hold them back, it's only going to delay them kind of getting fully back integrated into the team. And especially when you've had injuries, you have to have that playing time to kind of get back up to speed. So I reckon they won't start. I reckon one of Romero Van de Ven will start, and I think he will sub one of whoever starts for the other one, and Danso will play 90 minutes. That's what I think he'll do. Yeah, or maybe even 45. But yeah, one of the two. Like, I think that's what he'll do, and because we know that obviously Davis injured at the moment, we don't really want to keep playing Gray there. And I think we want to. They're both now available, so it's time to start playing them. I think it's time to start getting them back up to speed. And I think you don't want to completely, put too much on them. So that's why I think he'll start one and then bring on the other. And that's, I think, the right thing to do.
Yeah, you're looking at Romero though. I mean, the last 2 times he's played, right, he's got injured in the first 20 minutes of playing, which has been frustrating. Or maybe not 20 minutes, but he's got injured in both those games, which is very frustrating. And Van de Ven as well obviously came back and recurred an injury. So you need to be so careful with these players, because they've just got history this season of just coming back and then going away again. We've seen them both in training, and then we haven't seen them come on the pitch. So it's going to be interesting to see how they do manage it. I guess we need to wait and hear Ange Postecoglou's press conference and see what he says on them. But there's another one with Ben Davies. I mean, we heard that he's managing his minutes. So are we expecting Ben Davies to be in the squad? I don't know.
Didn't see him in training, so I'm going to say no.
Fair enough. But yeah, back on Alkmaar, I'm looking at their away and home form in the Eredivisie. They look like actually a better... Well, they picked up 22 points at home, which is 7th in the division. They picked up 21 away from home, which is 4th in the division. But I'm looking at their home games that they've played in the Europa League this season. They've actually had some really impressive results. Yeah. It seems as though it's the away form that kind of let them down in the Europa League. They beat Fenerbahce 3-1. They beat Roma 1-0. They drew with Galatasaray 1-1. They did lose to Bilbao 2-0, but that was probably the highest caliber team that they did play. So, I mean, pulling off those kind of scouts, a 3-1 against a Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce with some really good players, and a 1-0 against Roma. Impressive results.
And battered Galatasaray 4-1 in the first leg, in the knockout. And that game, I watched the highlights, and that flattered Galatasaray, that scoreline, because it really could have been a lot more. And they were relentless. That was so impressive. That when I was watching it, I know Galatasaray went down to 10 men, but I think it was already 2-0, I think, or 2-1 to Galatasaray at that point. So they're already in the lead, and they could have been 3 or 4-1 up before the red card. Then they got a red card, Galatasaray. And kind of AZ had their foot on their necks and just kept going. They didn't stop until they had a commanding lead, and they absolutely deserved that scoreline. And that's something we got to watch out for. We can't just think just because we're an English team, we're the better team, that they're not going to be able to create anything and they're not going to have chances. I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're going to go for us, and we just got to make sure that we're holding strong. We're not giving up as many easy chances, and if they're going to come forward, we're going to have to be as direct as possible and getting it behind them. And I think Galatasaray had some chances, but what held them back was they were just losing their duels all the time, consistently. Always when the ball was coming in defeat, the RZ players were snapping at their heels, making sure that it was difficult for them, and winning a lot of turnovers in the middle of the park. So I think we just got to make sure that we're not allowing that to happen. We've got to make sure we use that quality that we know we have so RZ don't get that control in midfield. And if we do that, if Maddison's dropping deep on the ball, forcing them to run in different angles, opening up the space, then I think we should be all right. But if we're not as organised as we should be, if the players aren't on it, if they're not up for it, then there's a chance we could get overwhelmed here, and that's what we've got to guard against.
Yeah, and there's no excuse for these players not being up for this one. They've had so much time on the training ground in the build-up to this game, over a week's break since that Man City game. They should have been able to learn the way RZ played like the back of their hand. They should have been able to analyse every single situation going into this game. And we've had so much more preparation time than AZ Alkmaar. There is no reason for us, not to be able to really be bang up for this one. We got to. This is the last thing in our season we've got to play for.
Yeah. Absolutely, and this is it. It's interesting to hear Ruben Amorim talk about the Europa League the other day, saying I hear a lot of people talk about we need to win Europa League to get into Champions League, and that's should be our aim. And he says I like to think that we aim bigger than that, and it's about more than just winning Europa League. We want to challenge for big things, and whether we win the Europa League or not, just winning a cup isn't gonna kind of take us where we want to be. We need to be aiming bigger than that. What do you feel about that kind of concept?
I mean, you have short-term goals and you have long-term goals, and I think when you're looking at the seasons that Manchester United and Spurs have had, you need to be looking at those short-term goals, and those short-term goals is to win the Europa League, and it'll be massive for both clubs. More so Tottenham with the trophies that Manchester United have won over the last 10, 15, even the last 2 years they've won trophies in their probably the worst period that they've had in the Premier League. But so I get what he's trying to say, and I get like the long-term goals of Manchester United is to be back to where they were, winning titles and going for Champions League and stuff like that. But you got to be focused on what's in front of you right now, and what's in front of him right now pretty much is only the Europa League. So I think the Europa League is massive for him this season.
Yeah, I agree, and I think for Tottenham as well, this period is more about it's obviously about winning the trophy and obviously getting that glory. That's obviously what we want, and obviously it's our best route back to Europe, let's be honest. But it's also a lot about Ange himself proving that what he was saying about the team improving, but the injuries derailing everything, that he has to basically prove that he was telling the truth, or it's not telling the truth, but he was right in his assessment, and it wasn't all just about him being terrible and all why we got the results and him using those excuses. He has to prove that what he was saying was true, essentially. Otherwise, if nothing changes and we're in a similar position or we're playing a similar way, then people will rightly say, well, look at the season you've had, look at the league season you've had. If you don't win this Europa League or at least get to a final or something, or look like you could win it, I should say, then a lot of people are going to be calling for his head. And I think it's about him stepping up as well. So I think from that point of view, it's bigger for Ange and Amorim, because if Amorim doesn't win it, not going to mean anything for his job. But for Ange, I think it's a bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, if you look at this tie in particular, right, the RZ tie in particular, right, if we go out to RZ in this round, then I think a lot of the people that were backing Ange will start to turn. Because there's no excuses anymore. We were talking about the excuse of the last 3 months, of the injuries and everything like that, and whatever your thoughts were of the form before the injuries and what your thoughts were of how valid the excuses were, there was validity to why Spurs were on absolute dreadful form because of the injuries in that moment in time. But that excuse is drying up now. We've got a lot of players back.
It's over. They're all back pretty much.
We've got 3 or 4 players still on the the injury table, but still, it's not a significant amount. So there is no excuse. So if we go out to RZ now, I believe that a lot of fans will start to turn.
Absolutely. So I think for the belief in Ange himself, he needs this Europa League. He needs to do well in this Europa League. And obviously for the club we need it, but I think Ange knows he needs it as well. And what a story it would be if a manager from Australia...
Always win things in my second season, mate.
It would be it would be an incredible story, whatever you want to say about it, whatever you think he deserves to be here, whether he wins it or not, all these things. It would be an incredible story if he, after everything we've been through and as well, everything his career has built up to, if we were to go and win this tournament at the end of this season, I think that would be an incredible story. So
here's a hypothetical one for you. A flip side to the one in 2019. If Arsenal are in the Champions League final and Spurs are in the Europa League final, would you take a loss for Arsenal to not win?
No. I want to win.
So you would win and let Arsenal win the Champions League?
Yeah, we'll still have more European trophies.
You know what? In a normal kind of world, I probably wouldn't. But because of the situation that we're in, I do agree with you. Like, I think this trophy is just so important for us, not just in terms of just Spurs getting a trophy, but also looking over to next season, being back in the Champions League, all the revenue that brings, potentially being able to attract a high caliber of player. Whether we bring in that caliber of player or not is a whole different conversation completely, but we'll be able to attract a higher caliber of player, and it also suggests that Spurs are going in the right direction as well. So I do agree with you.
Yeah, and I think all our eggs in this basket now. Unfortunately, we went out those domestic cups, and the league has gone so badly in recent months that we just need this Europa League. Everyone knows how big it is. So the journey starts here, and we got to take every game as it comes. And I want to see when the Europa League games come to the Tottenham Stadium. I know, especially in the group stages, the atmospheres in Europa League games aren't the best, but I want it like a great European nights. That's what usually is very special.
It will do.
Yeah, and that's what I want to see. That's why I want us to be our trump card, our home form. When we get teams back to our stadium, we absolutely go for them, and we have no fear. And I think I want it to be like how Anfield is on Champions League nights. That's what we need it to be if we got a chance of getting through this whole tournament. And how many times you've seen Liverpool, they lose like an away leg 1-0, they get back to Anfield and the team absolutely bashes them in these leagues.
Carabao Cup.
And also happened in the Carabao Cup. I've seen how many times you've seen the Champions League. You've had so many times. It's just like something magical happens there because of that atmosphere, and we need to do the same. We need to absolutely make it a bit of a cauldron and make sure that we're taking teams to the cleaners when they come to our stadium.
Yeah, and I mean the old cliche is the fans can be the 12th man, but I really believe it's true. fans can be the 12th man, and I'm a firm believer of atmosphere driving the team forward. And I think Spurs fans have done a good job of that in big games of the past. It's just not like that every single game, week in, week out at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But on this European run, we need to treat it like we need to treat it like what it is. It's the be all and end all for us this season.
100%.
And but you're looking at the game next week, the second leg. I'm just looking at the fixtures now. Alkmaar actually have a full week's rest. They play us 2 games in a row, where they don't have any league game this weekend, where we play Bournemouth at home. It'll be interesting to see the way Ange manoeuvres that week.
Yeah, he's going to have to use his squad, but it shouldn't be any excuse. Obviously, they've had the few games before us on this game anyway. But I think, in terms of, do you expect to go there and win? Do you think we're going to win tomorrow?
I expect to go there and win. Yeah.
If we get a draw there, is that a good result?
If we get a draw, I mean, I'm not like distraught about it. I think taking a draw back to Tottenham is still, massively advantaged Tottenham.
Mm-hmm.
But I would I'd prefer to go there and win, because I think you're looking at the quality of the two teams, you're looking at the injuries and the players that we're getting back. We should be able to go there and stamp our authority.
Yeah, if we can put the tie to bed in the first leg, that'll be brilliant. But I got a feeling it's going to be a draw tomorrow. I don't know if we'll win. I've got a feeling it's going to be a tough game.
I'm going for a Spurs win. In my prediction tomorrow will be a 2-1 win to Tottenham.
I'm going to go 2-2. I think it's going to be a close one. I think I feel like Romero van der Ven might still be getting up to speed, with things, and they're not going to be quite at their best as much as they're back from injury. And I feel like RZ at home, they're going to be confident. They're going to fly at us. I reckon they're going to have a bright start, and then we're going to get our foothold in the game and get it back and make it a 2-2 draw.
So you think we're going to go 2-0 down?
Not 2-0, but maybe 1-0 down. I think maybe they'll get the first goal, we'll get it back, and then they'll go 2-1 up and we'll get it back again.
Yeah, like I said, a draw's not a terrible result, but you're looking at the two teams. We should really be going there and win. We should. But look, I'm going for a 2-1 win. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think Spurs do have the quality to get over the line. Watch along. I'm in the studio with you with Amir. Some stupid idiot kind of lost his passport somewhere, can go out to Amsterdam. But Sim, literally right after this episode, is going to fly out to Amsterdam, and he'll be getting all the footage from in and around the ground and all the festivities around Amsterdam for you guys. So that is our match preview. Let us know your score predictions in the comment section below. Excuse me.
Oh, just come back from Amsterdam.
Yeah. I've caught the answer.